Welcome to episode 6 of One Question, where we explore the elephant in the room connected with the work we bring to the world. These are conversations about the misperceptions people have with our work, sometimes with the conversations we have in our own mind, what we've been taught, or societal norms. I'm your host, Stephanie McAuliffe, founder of The Way of the Diamond Warrior, and an energy alchemist and trauma-informed business strategist, where I guide leaders to build a business that's a reflection of their soul. Today, we're joined by Lea Appleton. Lea is an author, speaker, and well-being coach who specializes in helping individuals and organizations foster well-being through mindful practices, stress reduction, resilience building, and creating a daily rhythm that supports both personal and professional thriving. Lea is also a co-author with me of The Confident You, The Raw Conversations book. So welcome, Lea. I am really excited for our conversation today.
Me too. Thank you for talking with me today, Stephanie.
Thank you. So Lea, tell us more about the work that you do and what is that elephant in the room, the misperception you want to take a bite out of today regarding this important work you bring to the world.
Sure. So I work on a couple of different fronts around the things that you mentioned. And a lot of times people or organizations are in transition. And so it's the moving from one place to another. And I talk about having an indoor job and an outdoor job. And part of my outdoor job is actually walking with people from one place to another and using some reflective walking to be a tool and an instrument as a way to manage and explore and experience the transition in a different kind of way. And the elephant in the room, I think, happens both in the walking, but much more often in the talking. In my conversations as a coach, if I'm leading a workshop, the elephant in the room is people expect me to have all the answers sometimes. And really, my role is to have the questions and maybe to listen and say back the questions that they're asking themselves. That a lot of times people come to a coach looking for the answers, and wouldn't we all like have someone to be able to say, well, this is how it's going to work out. But that isn't really how the process works in my experience. And being able to be clear about questions and to continue to follow the thread, which leads me to wonder about this, which leads me to ask this, that kind of questioning, I think is sometimes surprising for people.
So it sounds like you're helping people open up the curiosity within themselves.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And so many of us, when we're young, we're taught to look to our parents and look to our teachers and look to our elders and everybody else for the answers because they're telling us what is right or wrong. So what do you find sometimes might be the biggest challenge of getting people to start to make that transition or go deeper into it and step into their own curiosity?
I think the biggest challenge isn't so much the being curious as it is being able to trust the questions, trust themselves for the questions that are coming up, trust themselves to be able to find that answer. So it may look like, oh, I'm not curious, but really it's a discomfort with, I don't know if I can believe myself if this is what I decide or choose or wonder about.
Do you find that the trust aspect to be one of the biggest things that people need to move through?
I think it's trust in self.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Yeah.
self-confidence,
Yeah.
the belief, uh, in coaching terms, it's sometimes referred to, right, as the self-efficacy to know that one can be successful. Mhm.
But I'm seeing a difference between self-trust and self-confidence, though, because there's a lot of people out there who are confident and have great careers and yet don't trust themselves. So do you see that that gap in some of the folks that you work with?
I think that sometimes the confidence that comes across might be more of a bravado, right? That like
Yeah.
this is how I'm going to present
Hmm.
to the world, but inside it might not be quite as confident as they might present. Um, I think it's the confidence and the knowing and the
Hmm.
ability to go through the process of not knowing, right? That's the hard part. There's so many things we don't know about ourselves, about the world. There's so many things we don't have control over. Um, so, and it isn't to say that someone might be very confident in their skills, but less confident in their ideas. That probably is true sometimes. Most of us have varying levels of confidence just depending on what it is. We're more confident in one area of our life versus another. I don't think that's
Hmm.
unusual. But I do think that building the self trust or the self confidence is a different practice than just getting better at a skill. I mean, it is a skill now that I hear myself say that, and it is something you can practice, but it's different than getting better at a task,
Hmm.
maybe is what I'm trying to say. But I
Hmm.
do think that the process is the same. I think that it takes practice and we have to keep taking the opportunity to believe that we can do something, to try it, to see what happens, that kind of thing, or that one of our ideas is going to be great. And so we play it all the way through to see what happens.
Yeah, and from my career on Wall Street, I've seen that, as you said, the bravado comes from people who it's like a mask. And so I'm curious about some deeper thoughts on helping people, like, because we can't just rip off the mask. It's not like ripping off a band-aid. And it is building muscles. It's doing our reps. It's the little steps. So how would you recommend, if somebody is seeing themselves from listening to this conversation today, of like, oh, that's what I've been doing. I've had this mask, I've had this bravado, and I don't want to wear it anymore. Like, what's one of the first things you would tell them to do, or to think about, or ponder, or even write about, or walk, to begin to feel like they can remove a little bit of it and to begin to step more deeply into their own self-trust?
Hmm. Well, I'd probably ask them a question
Mm-hmm.
and I would ask, what do you think that mask is doing that's helpful? Like why what is the mask? How is it serving you or intending to or trying to? Because it's always part of ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm of the belief that even in the things that come out kind of sideways and not really helpful, that we're often trying to protect ourselves. Right. And so what is it about that mask? It might be protection, right? But it
Mm-hmm.
may be, well, if I fake it till I make it, I might get better at this, right? So there could be all sorts of different reasons why someone might pretend to be more
Yes.
confident than they are, if you will. But I would ask the question, like, well, what do you think that mask is doing? Why is it helpful to you? Why is it not? To begin to explore what that is, and then see where they go with that.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be something that someone could write or think about in a walk or even have a conversation about with someone that they trust. Yeah. What's up with this mask anyway?
Yeah, and I like the curiosity aspect of that, because it's not that we have to have an instant answer. And curiosity, I think, helps us step away from judgment,
Mm-hmm.
because we're not here to judge ourselves. And I also think that people are getting tired of the message of fake it till you make it. Because that in and of itself is, now I need to put on another mask over the mask I've already been wearing. I don't want another mask. Like, I don't want to wear any of them. I want to be me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's an interesting, fascinating journey. So, as you guide people through the work, what's the biggest shift that you see in your
Mhm.
clients?
Hmm. I think one of the shifts that makes it really possible for people to keep inquiring and keep staying curious is, and I'll ask, I won't ask directly. I'll say, what did you notice yourself say today? Or what did you take away that you spoke out loud in our conversation? And a lot of times people will say, I'm feeling more hopeful than when
Mm,
I came into this conversation. And even though I hear that quite a bit, I'm always surprised every time, like, wow, that being more hopeful in having the belief that maybe this could be better. Maybe this, if I keep at this, something's going to shift for me. Or maybe it's begun to shift already in the
hmm
conversation. But I think that's a lot of what makes it more possible for people to keep going and do some of the hard work. Because for some people the work's harder than for others. It just depends on what it is they're trying to explore. Um, but yeah, I think that is something that's a shift that really makes all sorts of other
hmm
questions and actions possible.
Yeah, because it really does ripple out.
Hmm.
And that's, if you're to look back at your life 6 months or a year or even 5 years, it's like getting to where you are now. It wasn't the snap of a fingers. It wasn't the instant gratification. It was the small steps that
Hmm.
we take that actually lead to the bigger of like, I'm not that person anymore. And isn't
Mm.
that really cool? Because I stepped into the curiosity and the hope and
Hmm.
sometimes the wonder that sometimes wonder isn't safe when you're young and you have to put on
Hmm.
the mask. So
Hmm.
opening that up, I love that you're doing this with the folks that you're here to guide.
And you brought up the idea of wonder. And if I may share
Mm-hmm.
one of the chapters in my book called Walking and Wayfinding talks about moving from ponder, which is a thinking kind of figure it out mode, which for many of us is our default,
Mm-hmm.
to wonder, which isn't exactly thinking. It's kind of more than that. And it allows to be present in the question and maybe not expecting an answer. And in the book, I have people write a poem
Mm-hmm.
from P to W, an acrostic poem from the alphabet, and it's super fun to see. Oh, how would I get from ponder to wonder? And that might be something else for your listeners to do, is to put those letters of the alphabet to think through what the process might be for them to
I
move from the thinking kind of to the awe of the question.
I love that exercise. I've never heard anything like that before. And as you were describing it, I was thinking of we can look up at the night sky
Mm.
and we can ponder a star or we can wonder about the Milky Way.
Mhm.
And they're very different. To your point, it ponder is very pointed. It can feel very exacting. Whereas wonder
Mhm.
opens us up to possibilities we may never have thought of or seen as potential for us.
Mhm.
Oh, I love that exercise. So, for our listeners, you have something called a guided clarity walk, which fits
Mhm.
perfectly in with what we've been talking about.
Mhm.
And it's questions for them to explore and reset and release and re enter while they're walking. So, we'll include the link for that
Mhm.
down in the notes. And is there anything else that you'd like to share about that or any final thoughts for the listeners today?
Yes. So being able to go on a walk is one of the ways that I move from ponder to wonder, because somehow in moving my body, it allows my brain to relax. And I invite people to try that, whether they're asking themselves questions or not, right? Being
Mm-hmm.
able to just be in that space of some movement, even if it's just around the block. So that's how I would leave it. Give it a try.
Awesome. Lea, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom today and for a wonderful conversation.
Thank you, Stephanie.